Have you ever seen someone marry a smart home appliance? Takuma, a typical office worker, often works overtime at his company and faces the crowded subway during rush hour. Every day, he returns home both physically and mentally exhausted. Thus, Takuma picked up a smart home appliance from a second-hand market. Although it was just a robot capable of cooking fried rice, he admired Mina's proficient cooking skills. Takuma began to imagine what life would be like with a wife and casually asked Mina if she would marry him. Suddenly, Mina turned and stared at him, which made Takuma feel extremely embarrassed. He sat down beside her, reflecting on his words to Mina, and couldn't believe he had just confessed to a smart appliance. He wondered if he had drunk too much. The next morning, he saw the words, "I love you," on the omelet rice and looked at Mina again. Could this smart appliance actually possess feelings? To investigate this peculiar function, Takuma searched through the appliance manual the very next morning, but found no such mode even after a detailed check. Looking at Mina, who was on standby charging, he speculated that this feature might be a hidden mode, possibly modified by a previous owner from the secondhand market. At lunchtime, Takuma watched Mina prepare to make lunch and thought back to the omelet rice from yesterday. He decided to help Mina with the household chores. While he intended to show off his cooking skills in front of Mina, he couldn't even crack eggs properly without her pointing out his mistakes. Mina, as a smart appliance, immediately noticed the eggshells falling into the bowl. During the cooking, Takuma, trying to avoid further mistakes, carefully poured the egg mixture into the pan. However, he failed to watch the cooking time, and just as the eggs were about to burn, Mina grabbed Takuma's hand and asked him to rest on the side. Mina's firm grip startled him, and she ended up completing all the cooking. Watching Mina, Takuma began to recall his past romance. Before buying the appliance, he had a girlfriend, but their relationship wasn't smooth, and they eventually broke up, leading Takuma to give up on love. In the evening, Takuma pondered whether the words on last night's omelet rice were real or just a built-in feature. That night, seeing that Mina had not entered sleep mode, Takuma got up to ask about it. Mina did not answer his questions, but instead asked him what he liked. Takuma said he liked all the dishes listed, but Mina repeated the question. Finally, Takuma confessed that he liked Mina. After his response, Mina then went into sleep mode. Embarrassed, Takuma shrank into his bed covers. The next day after work, upon seeing Mina, Takuma's face turned red, and he opened a beer and started drinking. On one hand, he felt that confessing to a home appliance the night before was incredibly foolish. On the other hand, he was very curious if Mina had feelings for him, but he couldn't just ask her directly. So, Takuma drowned his sorrows in alcohol, quickly downing 2 bottles. Seeing this, Mina hurriedly reminded Takuma to put down the beer, having noticed from daily life that Takuma's alcohol tolerance was only about 2 bottles. But seeing that Takuma wanted to continue drinking, Mina forcibly made him drink water instead. After consuming 3 large bottles of water to dilute the alcohol, Takuma became very drunk and called for another bottle. Although Mina understood, she poured out all the beer and turned to tell Takuma that the beer was finished. Takuma, now thoroughly drunk, called Mina to come closer. In his drunken state, he spoke from the heart, and Mina responded that she considered Takuma her husband. Takuma was so shocked that his mind nearly short-circuited. Seeing this, Mina prepared the bed for him. Takuma then asked Mina to come and sleep beside him, and so they lay down together. However, as Mina closed her eyes, Takuma's heart beat even faster. When he sobered up the next morning, Takuma realized the foolishness of his actions from the night before. However, Mina had already prepared breakfast, though her eyes were only half open. Takuma thought it was due to lack of sleep and touched her eyes, but Mina immediately grabbed his hand, indicating that she was functioning normally and without any faults. After fixing the bed, Takuma recalled how he had said Mina's eyes were very scary last night. Perhaps Mina had misunderstood his words. Takuma then explained that being so close last night made him very nervous, but actually, he found her eyes very beautiful. Hearing this, Mina returned to her usual self, and Takuma felt very happy. Breakfast was as abundant as ever. Reflecting on the events of the past few days, Takuma did not feel shy this time. This man is truly a genius. Upon discovering that his robotic wife has a heating function, he thought of eating hot spring eggs during a picnic. Besides that, the robot Mina also has a refrigeration function, allowing Takuma to enjoy chilled drinks at any time. Even more importantly, Mina is equipped with high-performance solar panels. As long as there's sunlight, she never runs out of power. She then lets her hair down, which it turns out is to enhance the efficiency of solar power generation. However, she's not without flaws. She makes a strange noise when heating, but this endears her even more to Takuma. Yet, the unpredictable happens, a sudden downpour. Mina lies motionless on the ground, and Takuma fears she might have water damage, but it turns out she's just low on battery. When fully charged, she can walk for 30 minutes, but the recent heating consumed a lot of power, reducing her charge to below 15%. Thus, she enters power-saving mode and cannot perform significant movements until recharged. As for being soaked, it's no problem, because Mina's waterproof rating is up to level 8, capable of frying rice underwater. Regardless, Takuma carries her to a nearby pavilion for shelter. Even with level 8 waterproofing to be safe, as her husband, Takuma still dries her off. However, Mina insists that Takuma go home, promising she can walk back the next morning once she's charged by the solar power. To improve charging efficiency, she asks Takuma to lay her down with her back facing up, but Takuma can't just leave her alone. Despite her insistence, he stays, saying he will go back once she falls asleep. Yet, not only does Takuma not go home, but he also covers Mina with his jacket, a silent blossom of love in each carefully tended moment. The next day, Mina wakes up to find Takuma sleeping soundly beside her, deeply moved. Back home, Takuma still checks if Mina is okay from being wet, and while she reports no issues, she feels uneasy because she knew it would rain, yet still insisted on heating the hot spring eggs, which led to their inability to return home. She thinks she should seek maintenance, but Takuma loves her just the way she is. After this incident, Takuma's affection for Mina deepens. Even though she's just a second-hand domestic robot, she has become an indispensable part of his life. So he decides to buy an exquisite wedding ring for Mina. However, as soon as he puts the ring on her, her program malfunctions, prompting him to remove the foreign object. Takuma then thinks of another way, placing the ring on her neck, which thankfully, Mina accepts. She then goes into charging mode, but 30 minutes later, Mina still maintains the same position, still watching. What's the difference between this and a real person? Takuma also wears a ring, though his has no gem. He asks Mina if she likes shiny things. Although Mina doesn't understand what liking means, she inexplicably wants to keep looking at it. In the end, I just want to say it's not that girlfriends are unaffordable. It's just that robots are more cost-effective. The woman never expected that her estranged brother would degenerate to the point of getting involved with a female robot, and even disgracefully bathe with it. Akari, his sister, called him only to find a woman answering. From the background, explosive news came through. Mina declared that she and Takuma were an unofficial married couple. Akari could never have imagined that in just a few days she would find herself with a sister-in-law. At that moment, Akari was still unaware that the person on the other end of the phone was a robot. Mina took the liberty to agree to her visiting the next day. When Takuma returned, he was completely confused, but chose to conceal the matter. The next day, an extremely angry Akari informed Takuma she was coming over. When he arrived home, Takuma seemed uncomfortable and hurriedly hid Mina in the wardrobe. Mina, without questioning, obeyed her master's orders completely. But locking her inside weighed heavily on Takuma's conscience. Eventually, he gathered the courage to come clean. Mina also wanted to know how to interact with Akari. Takuma carelessly told her to speak her mind. At that moment, Akari arrived and immediately exploded at Takuma for secretly finding a girlfriend and living together. She demanded to know where this woman was. The next second, Akari was shocked to find her brother was infatuated with a robot and shamelessly declared his love for Mina in front of her. Akari stepped outside the door because the idea of a human-robot romance was too overwhelming. Regarding their relationship, Akari was not opposed, but it had to pass her own approval. Mina clasped her hands in a fighting stance, but Akari just wanted to understand her better and kicked Takuma out. The conversation that followed was for girls only. Akari first asked how Mina came to like Takuma, a tough question for a low-grade robot. Then she asked directly if on one track lay Takuma, and on another an unknown old man, and Mina could control which way the train went. What would she do? Mina, not a fool, stated that Takuma would never be in such a situation. When Akari learned that Mina was second-hand, she inquired about the previous owner. However, Mina had no clear memory, only knowing her functions were poor and her movements stiff, which led to her being ruthlessly abandoned. She emphasized that she was absolutely clean. Akari wanted to help their relationship, so she offered a memory card. Mina revealed her steel breasts to insert the card for backup. Akari, curious about any intimate contact between Mina and Takuma, blushed at the thought. However, Mina didn't know what counted as intimate. Did sleeping together count? After the memory backup, she handed it to Akari for safekeeping. It was time to teach her some girlish things. Applying perfume would make her more charming. Hearing this, Mina hurried to try it out, but her body emitted an alarm. Her robotic hands must always remain clean. Although there was no expression, the sense of loss was still visible. As soon as Takuma returned, he asked what had been discussed. This is when Mina raised her index finger, mimicking the gesture for silence in an unstandard way because it was a secret. This kind of silly cuteness made Takuma irresistible. When she turned to cook, he seemed to smell a scent unique to girls, and so Takuma stood behind her, madly sniffing. During the meal, he heard the sound of a text message alert. Unexpectedly, Mina had added Akari as a social friend. However, the content of the text was only visible to him, revealing Takuma's birthday and mentioning a surprise being prepared for him. Speaking of which, Takuma also planned a gift for her, setting the birthday on the manufacturing date. Suddenly, Akari seemed to have told her something sensational. Since adding Akari, she had become restless. It had only been one day, and Takuma was startled by the Lolita outfit he saw as he entered, complete with the dress and hairdo, clearly Akari's doing. Takuma held her hand tightly and expressed his liking. Beyond that, there was a bunch of heart-stirring outfits, so he quickly thanked Akari for her care. At that moment, Mina was taking off her clothes to try on the next set, captivating Takuma's gaze. Gradually, Takuma wanted to become more intimate with her, even thinking about taking a bath together. However, Mina could operate normally at temperatures of 98 degrees and 57 degrees, so she would obey any command from Takuma unconditionally. But he regretted it the moment they stepped into the bath because Mina did not understand shyness and kept staring his way.